Now it's kind of crazy because Furitek released the TerraX just a couple of months ago. It's their comp crawler featuring 4-wheel steering. And then after that, Redcat released their comp crawler mini chassis, the Ascent Apex. And now just weeks later, HPI has released the Venture18 CC competition crawler. And it has some pretty interesting features, including a selectable dig. And today we're gonna check it out. We'll check out the truck, we'll see its weight biases, and then we'll perform all the same tests we did with the other 2 trucks and see how it compares. You want to win some AMain Hobbies store credit? Because we're giving away $100 every week. All you have to do is sign up with the QR code in the back of this voucher that we're putting in every order you make. Now before we open up the box, there is a little bit of info, including our brass hexes, our Metal Gear half-dig transmission saying it disengages the rear drive, and then aluminum rails for the chassis. Here's our dimensions. It says it includes a USB battery charger and a 3S LiPo. This is ready to run, of course, but you will need 4 AA's. Now here's a little bit more info on some of the internals. Flux ESC, so it's brushless. Brass inner wheel weights, 1.5 kg Metal Gear servo, oil-filled shocks, steel center drive shafts, our 3S LiPo, 3500 kV Outrunner brushless motor, and then oversized 1.3-inch tires and wheels, which is great to see on here. We saw that on the Apex, and they perform fantastic. It's a huge advantage. And these tires, the tread looks very familiar to old HPI tires, which worked fantastic. So you can see we've got some documentation, a little tool, USB battery charger, same transmitter we've seen. It is 6-channel. Got a push button here for channel 3, push button for channel 4. Channel 6 up here is actually a 3-position rocker, and then channel 5, and then up top, quite a bit of trims, dip switches, reversing, quite a bit of functionality for a ready-to-run transmitter. All right, here is the real bread and butter though. So quite a nice green paint job on here. Lexan body, hard plastic mirrors, front grille, rear cage, fuel cell. I believe there is a second body color to choose from. Look at that, reflective decals inside the mirrors. So just because it's intended to be a comp crawler doesn't mean it can't look scale. You can see how narrow that is in the front end. For the tires to clear, it clears. Nice. There is a lot of flex in this truck, and you can see just how laid down those shocks are. So to get this body off, okay, it's a little twist screw on the back. So it's just like the other Venture 18s. And we rotate that, and the body should just hinge from the front. And look at that. It is pretty nice and tidy inside, and the electronics look really evenly spaced left to right. And you can see our aluminum rails here have a silver chamfered edge. There is our center dig servo. And then our transmission in the center with a tiny little Outrunner motor. For the ESC, it's the FLX18. We have a 6-channel receiver, and then our LiPo that's held in with a Velcro strap. It is 360 milliamp hour. The servo is on the front axle, and the chassis rails are kind of a stubby design where they don't come all the way to the front. There's no front bumper, and when you lift the servo and rock it, it does not hit those chassis rails. It's clear. There is quite a bit of different adjustment holes for the front shocks and the rear shocks. Now these are plastic threaded shocks. They have an aluminum collar, aluminum top cap, and an aluminum bottom cap. And they look like they've been pre-adjusted out of the box. And they feel pretty smooth, although the fluid just feels light. So we have a plastic steering horn, plastic steering links with a bent design in the center. And then underneath, it's a 4-link setup, more plastic links, but the rears are going to be a high link design. And then those steel center drive shafts are telescoping. Oh, the rear end's just freewheeling. The dig must be activated right now. So if we move the camera down, look at that skid plate angle. There is so much clearance underneath there. When you take into account the skid plate and those links, it is just extreme. The truck overall sits pretty low, and I haven't even mentioned that these are straight axles. They are not portal axles like we've seen with the other two comp trucks that were mentioned earlier in the vid. So this should sit lower, and when we do our angle test, it'll be interesting to see how well it performs. Interesting. Okay, so these are 1.3-inch proper beadlock wheels, and they don't feel particularly heavy, but on the scale they weigh 39 grams. Okay, almost 40. And then the brass hex weighs 8 grams. Let's just check one more time. I spot in the front axle, those look like universal drive shafts, or maybe they're captured CVDs. A bushing. Ooh. So here's the Furitek TerraX and the Apex from Redcat, and then here is the HPI. Now these two trucks have the same size 1.3 tires. Look at that awesome tread. Dare I say it's even legendary. And they're about the same height. You can see underneath the axle clearance is a lot bigger if you have portal axles, and these two trucks on the right do, but there are other big advantages to those straights. Now, as far as wheelbases go, I think the HPI is going to be the longest, and you can see it's about 1/4 of an inch or so longer. As far as the widths go though, I've tried to align them up on the left side, and you can see that we were hanging out a little bit extra out the Apex, and then the TerraX is hanging out a little bit more. So the HPI is actually going to be the longest, but it's the narrowest. So here's the dig function. It's controlled by channel 3 that's lit up right here. You press it, and it just disengages the rear end. It does not lock the rear end though. So I hit the channel 3 again, 4-wheel drive. As far as overdrive or underdrive, I didn't see anything saying that there is in the truck, but let's test it. Oh yeah, definitely. That front end is turning quite a bit faster than the rear end. So overall, we have 526 grams, 25 grams. We have a perfect 50-50 left and right side bias. That's great. And then 55% in the front. Okay, let's test the throttle smoothness. Pretty dang smooth. It's about as light as I can make it. 4-wheel drive to the right. 20.5 inches. Freewheel in the rear. To the right. 18 inches. Back in 4-wheel drive. To the left. 21 inches. Rear end disengaged. About 16.5. Okay, let's test the climbing angle. We're immediately going to 55 degrees. Oh, it's got a great approach angle without a front bumper. It's like the rear end suspension, the shocks are just loading up, transferring more weight to the back. And yeah, it just won't do it. 53 degrees. 54. What happens if we disengage the rear and climb? So will it just pull it on up? No. Let's push it a little bit more. 54.5-ish. I guess 55 was a little bit too ambitious. Moving on to lean angle. 46. Ooh, 48. No, 47. 46.5. This should be it. Yep. So now what's interesting here about these results is if you compare them to the TerraX or the Redcat Apex, the HPI doesn't have the biggest lean angle, climb angle, or turning radius, even with that dig function. If the dig locked up the rear end, that would greatly improve the turning radius, but that's not how it works. On paper, looking at these results, it seems like, oh, the HPI is not as good. I think the climb angle could be greatly improved just by raising the rear shocks up or putting thicker oil or adding a sway bar, something to prevent the rear end loading up, because there is untapped potential there in its climbing. But unfortunately, that's just not the reality with how our truck came out of the box. Now, for the actual practical use of driving the truck out on the rocks, it's superb. The truck performs excellent. It has amazing flex. It's very stable. The dig function also came in handy when we were trying to make some tight turns. There's this one little climb up section where there's this really tight left-hand turn with this whole pocket that you fall down. And it's tough to make it all the way around and back down. And we were able to do it on the Venture18. It took a few tries, but we did it. Oh. Oh. Back in four-wheel drive. We also have this one climb section that we don't normally attempt, but we did with the apex, and after several tries, made it up with the apex, surprisingly. So we thought we'd give it a shot. These tires are phenomenal. Wow, wow, oh my gosh, I'm so close. A little more wheel speed. After a few tries, the Venture18 made it up. And it felt like the Venture18 made it up easier than the Apex did, even though on paper, the Apex has a greater climb angle. So I think that goes to show that results on paper don't always correlate to the real-world performance you'll experience out on the rocks. The Venture18cc is definitely an amazing truck, and there's still a lot of untapped potential in this thing. I think the only downsides to it are it's got brash bushings, which for a $290 truck is pretty icky. Also, there are a few instances where the steering servo got bound up and showed its limitations, but other than that, pretty rad truck. I like it. I think you guys might too. So go check out the Venture18cc with our links down below. I'm Brett from AMain Hobbies, and thanks for watching this video. And if you want to watch more, check these out.